All right, everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And this time, we are going to a place you might not expect.
Oh.
We are going to Rwanda.
Rwanda.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
To talk about their space program.
Their space program, that's not something you hear every day.
Yeah, it's not at all. We've been doing a lot of research, reading a ton of articles, checking out reports from the Rwandan Space Agency itself, and even some news coverage of their partnerships with other countries.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and honestly, like even just preparing for this, I was like, wait a minute. What? Really?
Yeah.
So I think get ready to be surprised.
All right, I'm strapped in. Let's do it.
So one of the things that I found most interesting about Rwanda's approach to space is that they're not content with just like hitching a ride, you know?
Right.
They want to be drivers.
Oh.
Yeah. In this whole space race thing.
That's really interesting because you think about, space exploration, it's always been dominated by these big players, right?
Right.
The US, Russia, Europe.
You know, the usual suspects.
Exactly. But to see a country like Rwanda kind of jump in and say, no, we want to be a part of this. And not just a part of it, but a leader, an innovator, that's...
Especially in Africa.
Especially in Africa, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty audacious.
It is. It's a real shift in the landscape.
So let's actually back up for a sec.
Yeah.
Because they're not totally new to this whole space thing.
Right.
Back in 2019, they actually launched their first satellite, Rwanda-1.
Rwanda-1.
Yeah, and they did this in collaboration with some scientists in Japan, which I thought was really cool. But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was built by Rwandan engineers.
Wow. So they had the expertise in-house to actually build a satellite.
Which, I mean, come on. That's pretty impressive.
That is hugely impressive, especially for a country that, let's be honest, hasn't traditionally been associated with space technology.
Right.
That's a major statement.
I mean, that really kind of put them on the map, didn't it?
It did. It signaled their arrival on the space stage, and not just as a participant, but as a builder, as a creator. They weren't just buying a ticket for the ride, they were building their own spacecraft.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about, scientific research or anything. They had a very specific, practical goal in mind with that satellite.
Well, in that same year, they launched another one,
Kivu-Up, yeah.
And that one was all about connecting schools, rural schools, to the internet.
To the internet, yeah.
So it was very much a mission focused on using space technology to solve real-world problems on the ground.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to highlight because it shows they're not just interested in, like, the prestige of being in space.
Right.
They're thinking about how can this technology actually benefit our people?
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. Laying internet cables in remote mountainous areas, it's difficult, it's expensive, it can be really challenging. But with a satellite, you can beam that connection down from above.
And completely bypasses all those geographical challenges.
Exactly.
So, for a kid in a small village somewhere who suddenly has access to the same online resources as someone in the capital city, that's huge impact.
Yeah, that's huge. That's transformative.
Yeah, it's a game changer for education, for healthcare, even for economic opportunity.
Right. Yeah, it really levels the playing field.
Yeah.
So that's just 2 satellites, right?
Yeah.
But their ambitions go way beyond that.
Oh, yeah.
Way beyond.
So, much bigger plans.
Yeah. They actually have this agency, the Rwandan Space Agency. The RSA.
The RSA, yeah.
And their goal is to actually build an entire space industry.
A full-fledged space industry.
In Rwanda.
In Rwanda.
Mm-hmm.
Not just launching satellites, but building them, designing them, researching them, the whole shebang.
Yeah. Like, what does that even look like?
Well, it involves a lot of things. First of all, you've got to have the research and development capabilities. You need scientists, engineers, facilities, and they've been investing in that.
Yeah. Then you need to attract international partnerships. They've done that as well. One notable one being with TRL Space, a Czech company.
Yeah, and through that partnership, they're actually developing something called a 6U CubeSat.
A CubeSat, yeah, it's like a mini satellite. Much smaller, more compact, but packed with potential.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of amazing how much they can pack into these tiny little satellites.
It's incredible. The technology has advanced so much.
Yeah, it's really cool. And speaking of TRL Space, that partnership is really interesting because they're not stopping at just, jointly developing a satellite.
Right.
They actually want to build a whole production center.
A whole satellite production center.
In Rwanda.
Yeah. Imagine that, Rwanda. A hub for satellite manufacturing.
And that's not just about, the economic benefits of having this industry there. It's also about the technological knowledge.
Exactly. It's about building capacity, expertise, training a workforce that can then go on to innovate and develop even more advanced technology.
And it could have ripple effects throughout the entire continent, couldn't it?
Absolutely. It's like a catalyst for growth and development.
Yeah.
And it all starts with this one partnership, this one bold decision to say, we're going to build satellites here.
It's really remarkable. But then I was reading about, all this stuff that they're doing, and then it's like, oh, by the way, they're also planning to launch entire constellations of satellites.
Constellations. Yeah. What? That's
Yeah.
taking things to a whole other level.
Yeah. Like, what even is a satellite constellation?
So a constellation is basically a group of satellites working together in a coordinated way to achieve a specific goal.
So instead of just having one satellite up there, you have a whole bunch of them.
You have a team of satellites covering more ground, providing more data, more capabilities.
I can see how that would be much more powerful than just a single satellite.
Exactly. You can do things like provide much more comprehensive communication coverage. You can get really detailed Earth observation data for things like agriculture, environmental monitoring, disaster response. The possibilities are vast.
They're not messing around.
Yeah. No, they're not messing around.
I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing.
It is. When you think about the resources of a country like Rwanda, and you compare that to, say, NASA, it's a David and Goliath situation.
Yeah.
But they're not letting that stop them.
No. And it really makes you wonder, can they actually pull this off?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can Rwanda really become a major player in the space race? What challenges will they fix? Will they be able to overcome them?
I mean, it's a story that's just getting started, right?
It is. It's a story of ambition, of innovation, of a country daring to dream big.
It's pretty inspiring.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I'm really curious to see what happens next.
Me too. I think we're going to be hearing a lot more about Rwanda in space in the years to come.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening, if you're as intrigued by this as we are, go do some more digging because there's a ton of information out there about Rwanda's space program. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next deep dive.
See you then.